I have been working through the book of Job, looking at the grammar, the Hebrew grammar, along with comments, reading it in Hebrew, uh, seeing the grammar plus comments. And we're on chapter 38, and we're at verse 8, and we're reading from verses 8 to 11. You know, as I was reading this, I am just amazed at the beauty of the book of Job. It is amazing to me to see how great this book is. I go back to some of my previous comments that I had made on another video, how that Tennyson and Carlyle spoke of it with bated breath. Great as the summer midnight, as the world with its seas and stars. And then this last statement, there is nothing written, I think, in the Bible or out of it of equal merit. A noble book, all men's book. It is our first oldest statement of the never ending problem, man's destiny and God's ways with him on earth. And so basically, it's got to be, to me, even from a literary perspective, one of the greatest books ever written. I enjoy reading the Greek of Homer and also the Aeneid and so forth, but in the Latin. But when I come to the Hebrew of the book of Job, it is so phenomenal. I mean, the Hebrew is very difficult, but the beauty and poetry is unbelievable to me and what it says. So we're up and now beginning at verse 8, looking at the Lord's reply to Job. God is answering Job, and we have seen he is called to gird up his loins like a man. And then God begins to speak, and he says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Uh, do you have understanding of that? Where were you when I measured it and stretched out its line? And when I established the foundations and fastened it and laid the cornerstone? And at that point, when the morning stars sang joyously together and the angels shouted for joy, where were you, Job? And we worked through that in a previous video, and now we're at verse 8 to verse 11, where in this beautiful section, God is going to ask him, who has been able to control the ocean when it broke forth from the womb, so to speak? Were you there, Job? Were you able to do that? So I pick it up at verse 8, and it reads, Vayasek bidlatayim yam, begiho merechem yetse. That is, or who shut up the sea with its doors, when it broke forth and issued from the womb, when it broke forth from the womb and came forth. Notice Vayasek is from the middle weak verb suk, and basically it's a cow imperfect third masculine singular with a vav conversive or consecutive. And so, who was it then? Or who shut up the sea with its doors? With the doors, the sea. Who shut it up? When it burst forth, notice begicho is from giach, It's another middle weak verb meaning to break forth. And here we have a cal infinitive construct preceded by the preposition bait and followed by the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular in the O. So when it broke forth from the womb and came out, Yetse. Yetse is from Yatsa. Historically, it was a pay vav verb, vatsa. And in this cow imperfect third masculine singular, from that root, we have a doubling, the Hirik originally, tsiv, would have read tsiv tse, becoming yetse, where the vav has elided or dropped out, and we have compensatory lengthening from the original Hirik to a tsere. This is another indicator of a pei vav root, vatsa. And we've made this comment many times. Your pei yod verbs were originally of one of two types, either a pei vav or a historic pei yod that was always there, like yanak from yinak, to he will suck or give suck. And then we have vatsa, to come forth. And here in the imperfect, the vav has dropped out. So these two types we see, especially when we look at Hebrew grammar. So when it broke forth from the womb and issued out. Where were you, Job? When I look at this text, God is questioning Job concerning his power, and he says, who was it that shut up the sea when its doors and with doors when it broke forth and was formed in the womb and issued forth from the womb? Notice the picture here is that of the ocean breaking forth from the womb of the deep abyss of water from beneath the earth and overflowing the earth. And the beautiful poetry here, it was God alone who was able to set up its boundaries and decreed the extent of its ruling power. This is what Job is saying in this particular verse. So then we move on to verse 9. What a beautiful verse this is, too. Besumianan levusho ve'arafel chatulato. That is, when I placed or made the cloud its garment, and thick darkness its band, its swaddling band, from chatula, meaning a swaddling band. Where were you, Job, when I did that? Notice as we look at this grammatically, first of all, bisumi is from the middle weak verb seem, when I placed or made. And so we have a cal infinitive construct followed by the pronominal suffix, first person singular, in the E, and preceded by the bait, the inseparable pronoun. So, and we would render it, when I placed the cloud, anan levu sho. When I placed the cloud, its garment. And I think, like the cloud provides a garment for the sea, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. The arafel chatulato, and thick darkness, its swaddling band. Chatula, it means swaddling band, and this is in construct with O, the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So when I place the cloud, the infinitive construct as we've seen here, uh, its garment, and darkness, its swaddling band. Where were you, Job, when that happened? What a what an amazing imagery here of beauty, poetic beauty. As a garment and a swaddling band surrounded a baby's body, a child's body, so God has caused the clouds and darkness to go around and cover the ocean. This imagery, though, can especially be seen as one would look out on the horizon to picture clouds which seem to meet the ocean below and encompass it as a garment or as a swaddling band of cloth around a newborn child's body. That's the imagery here. And what a beautiful poetic imagery when you look at the ocean. I remember going to visit my sister in South Carolina. When we did that, we would look at the ocean, my wife Janet and I, and as we would look out, we could see what Job was talking about. In other words, as you look out on the horizon, it looks like the clouds seem to meet the ocean and encompass it like a garment or like a swaddling band. What a beautiful, beautiful, poetic imagery that is being described here. And then we move to verse 10. Va'eshbor alav chuki, va'asim bariach udelataye. When I broke, literally, upon it my decree. In other words, eshbor here is from shabar, to break. It's a cow imperfect, first common singular from shabar. And so he goes on with a vav consecutive, and I broke upon it my decree. And then the last phrase, or the parallel phrase, you have a lot of synonymous parallelism here in poetry. Va'asim beriach udelatayet. And I set a bar and doors for it. Here we have a collective singular, I believe, in baria. We could translate it bar or bars. I placed and doors. Notice doors from delit, and here we have the dual form in ayim. Sort of like God has set doors to block the sea from overflowing. Notice asim is the cow imperfect, first common singular from sim. What a beautiful thought here, too, as we're looking at verse 10. And verse 10 and 11 really go together, how God has set a, can I say, almost a bar where the ocean cannot go further than where he has set it. And this is furthermore developed in verse 11. But Omar ad pe, or ad po, tavo velo tosif, ufo yashit bigon galecha. That is, and I said, God is speaking, I said, unto here, literally, ad po, unto here, only here. God is commanding the sea here. Tavo, you shall go, and you shall not add, or you shall not go any further. Notice here, tavo is the cow imperfect, second masculine singular from bo, and tosif is from yasaf. Again, another pei vav verb, So from here you shall go, and you shall not cause to go further or cause to add. Notice here we have a hifil, imperfect, second masculine singular from Yasaf. And again, as we look at this form grammatically, it would have been tau, sif, and that pathak, o vowel, would have become a long holum here, o vowel, in this hifil imperfect form, looking at a historical development of this form. So historically, this was a pei vav, va saf, and and that's why we have the vav eliding or dropping out, and in this hifil imperfect form, tau sif became to sif. So uh, and he said, unto here you shall go, and you shall not cause to add to it. In other words, you shall not go any further. And here, ufo ashit bigon galecha. That is, and here shall be set, or here he set the pride of your waves, or here be set, we could say, the pride of your waves. Notice here, yasit is the cow imperfect third masculine singular from seat, and big on would be with the pride, gaon, of your waves, two nouns in construct, and galecha is a plural noun in construct with cha, the pronominal suffix, second masculine singular. So I said, unto here you shall go, and you shall not go any further. And here uh, shall your proud waves be set, or be, I guess we could render that be set or stop. What a beautiful picture here again of the sea and God's control of it. God set by his decree then a limit for the ocean. He set bars and doors to stop it from overflowing the earth. The ocean, with its tumultuous power and at times fury, can only go so far and no further. Its boundary is set by an impossible boundary decreed by God. Beyond this, the ocean cannot go any further. Its proud waves are confined by God's sovereign, powerful hand. So Job is being asked, Job, where were you when all of this happened? Again, celebrating the sovereignty of God. One of the things that I would like to say, a couple things, when we would go to the ocean and you'd see the waves coming in, they would only come in so far, and then the current would go the other way. And I've often thought about this text and how powerful it is, and how very true it is to what actually uh, happens when we observe the ocean. The other thing I would like to say, as a Christian minister, when I read the New Testament, I'm reminded of Jesus, and it's very striking to me, his authority over the sea, over the ocean. He could walk on water. He could command the Sea of Galilee, for example, to be quiet when it was tumultuous. It's almost like he said, "Stop barking," as one would say to a dog. Stop. And so it shows that Jesus, in New Testament theology, is the sovereign Lord in the second person of the Blessed Trinity, of the God man, the Lord Jesus Christ. So I'm going to stop there and then pick it up, just keep working my way through. You cannot hurry a book like Job, and its poetry is phenomenal. And what a message it leaves too. So thank you, and I hope this is helpful, especially if you would take your Hebrew Bible and follow me. That would be great as well. Thank you.